the record button now. I will ask that everybody please make sure that your microphones are turned off. I will answer all questions. You can start putting them in the chat box as we go through the presentation, but I'll answer them at the end. Okay, with that, let me go ahead and share my screen and let's get going. Okay. All right, welcome everybody. My name is Nicole Bostel. I'm the Director of Communications here at STEM School Highlands Ranch, and this is our second back to school parent information session. This week we'll have 3 more this week. They are all from noon to 1 o'clock for the remainder of this week. The recordings of this, as well as the PDF presentations, will be available on our website in the Back to School Hub, and I will also include it in the newsletter on Friday, links to all of those. I know it's a lot of information. Take your time as you go through it. We're also here to answer any questions, but we strongly encourage you to utilize all of this information that we are putting together because we will get inundated with lots of questions, and it will take us additional time to answer those. So that's why we're trying to give you as much information that you can peruse at your leisure in advance of the first day of school. So with that, let's get into our presentation. We're talking about getting informed today. And so what we want to do is make sure that our parents know that they have a whole section on our website, and that is our parents section. And so if you go to stemk12.org in the top right-hand corner, you'll see the word parents. You'll want to click on that, and then it'll take you to this particular page right here where you'll see 3 boxes. I believe tomorrow we are talking about getting connected, and then Thursday we're talking about getting involved, and then Friday we'll be talking about the STEM experience, which is athletics and enrichment. But today we're going to talk about this green box over here, which is called getting informed. And so we're going to focus a lot about what's inside the student parent handbook today to kind of walk you through some of those high level areas that are really important for kind of the day to day, but we still need for you to go through that handbook to ensure that you know what's included and you know where to find the resources and the information in the future if you need to reference it. Okay, so on this before I jump too far into the presentation, I want to make sure that you guys all know this Back to School Hub. You see this graphic here. This is what you're going to click on. You can also click on this link here. Any questions that you have as it pertains to getting back to school, go ahead and email that info@stemk12.org with any questions, and we'll try and get back to you as quick as possible. But continue to peruse the information that's on our website in the newsletters, because chances are that information is there, and that way you can get it faster than us getting through all the emails and getting back to you. So we're doing our best, but we do get inundated at the start of the school year. I want to give a quick Express check-in update for those who are on the call, and I can answer questions about this at the end. The district's Express check-in is open and has been open for, I believe, we're in 2 weeks now. Please make sure that you complete phase 1, which is completing that in that Engage portal by Monday, August 5th. And what you're doing in there is you're going through and ensuring that your information is correct, that you are signed up for all appropriate communication features in there. So ensuring that you want to receive emergency notifications, text message, those kinds of things. If you start to notice throughout the school year, you're not getting the direct email messages that come from a system called Finalsite, and they would generally come from me, or you're not getting a text message when you've seen or heard that other people might be getting a school-wide text message. That just means that your settings inside IC or your parent portal are not updated. So this would be that process where you go through and ensure that you have all those boxes checked correctly. If you have questions about that at any point in time, you would then email info@stemk12.org, and we'll get those settings fixed up for you during the school year if anything changes. Okay. If you have had and still are having difficulty going through Express check-in with DCSD, please reach out to the DCSD IT. There is a phone number that's been provided a couple of times in emails. We also have it on the most recent post that's up on our website. on how you can reach out to them. Unfortunately, we can't help with their system because we don't have access to the back end. So if it's anything that has to pertain with login issues, or resetting a password or anything like that, once you're inside the system, all of that has to go through district IT. And so while you might email us about it, we're probably going to respond back and say you have to contact district IT. So we want to make sure that you don't get hung up in that process. The second phase, which is our express check-in process, it is a Google form that was sent out on Saturday, the 27th, and we'll include it. It's currently also linked on our website in the express check-in post that was just put up yesterday. It'll also be included in Friday's newsletter. If you need that link directly, you can also email us at info, but definitely check to make sure that that email got to you, because you'll want to complete that form also by Monday, August 5th. And that makes that form is where we're asking you to acknowledge that you've received and have read the student parent handbook, that you have you understand what our school fees are, what they go to pay for. And then there's a couple of other sections in there that we want to ensure that you're aware of. So we do ask for you to sign off on each one of those sections. One of those is also our TMP and our drive line. So while it does take a little bit of reviewing all of that information, we do ask for you to complete that Google form by August 5th. Okay. All right, so we're going to jump right in to probably one of the biggest topics for today, which is going to be attendance. This is going to be in that student parent handbook that was sent out on Saturday. It's also located on that parent get informed page on the website. So I'm going to be where I can and where I'm pulling it from the handbook, I'm also referencing the page number. So if you want to see where I'm pulling this information from, you can. So on page 46 of the handbook, we're talking about some of this information in regards to our attendance policy, why we have one, why it's important, why it's, the procedures that we have to follow. This is high level for secondary, that's the attendance line that you need to call by 8 a.m. if your student is going to be missing school and you're going to be excusing their absence. So that number is also located on that website, but I would strongly encourage you to put that in your phone and call it STEM attendance line. As you go through it, you do have the option to pick elementary or secondary. And then what you would do is you would leave, once you select attendance, you would leave a message. Then the front office goes through after 8 a.m. once they get all the students, checked in and they've completed attendance. They go through that attendance line and then they start marking students as excused. And that way, any student who has not been excused by their parent with a message on that phone line would then be considered an unexcused absence. And then the system's auto dialer is what it's called, would then go out and you would get a phone call or potentially a text message or an email that states that your student is currently not in school. So that's why it's really important that you call by 8 a.m. to leave that message, because we follow a pretty rigid process there in the morning to ensure that we're meeting that attendance dialer and that we're not notifying you that your students not in class when they actually are in class. Okay. So secondary, if your student is late, and that would be, so if they are walking in the door at 7:50, they could potentially be marked absent. Okay. They need to be in their seats by 7:50. Okay. Some teachers give a little bit of grace as they're getting situated themselves, but I wouldn't bet that every teacher does it the same way. So they do want students in their seats by 7:50 so that teachers can start taking attendance and they can get going with that first period of the day. Okay. So if a student comes in 7:50 or later, they're going to be asked to sign in at the computer, and then they would be marked as they would get a tardy slip in order to get into class. Okay. If your student is going to be late and you want to excuse that late absence, I would also call the front office to let them know. And then you also might, depending on their age, have to come in and sign them in that you're dropping them off late. Okay. Elementary students all must be signed in by a parent after 7:45. And so the first few weeks, if Driveline runs a little bit late, the attendance will stay out there. If it starts, once things kind of settle down, starting at 7:45, once Driveline's running efficiently, any cars that roll into the parking lot at 7:45 or later will be instructed to park and go inside if there's no Driveline attendant outside. the implied practice is that you park and go inside, because then the aide has then gone inside to go work with their students inside the classroom. So it's really important that 7:45 or later, park your car, go inside and sign them in. If you just drop off your student, you will receive a phone call that you do need to come back and sign them in. Okay. And I mentioned the information about that attendance dialer. Okay. So we're going to talk briefly about tardies. There's more information in the parent handbook, but here are some of what we have listed as part of our policy of what makes a student tardy, and then what can happen if you have too many tardies. So we just want to make sure that families are aware of the difference between tardy and an unexcused absence, and we'll continue to go through that as we go farther on into this presentation. Okay, tardies can accrue, so please make sure that your student is always arriving on time. If you're noticing that, the time that you're arriving, Driveline's, causing a problem, maybe come a couple of minutes early, where Driveline might not be impacting whether or not your student can get into class on time. We do sometimes hold attendance when we know that there is either an accident on the highway or on any one of the major roadway arteries that get to our campus. So just know that you can also always call in advance to just say, hey, we're coming in, but we've experienced a ton of traffic, so other students might be late. That's always pretty helpful for us. And so what they might do is they might ask you a few questions over the phone and excuse that tardy, but definitely always call to let us know. It's not going to be a usual practice, because at the front of office starts to know that you're calling every single day that your student is tardy, they will start to make those as unexcused tardies. So those will still start to accumulate. Okay. So if in the event you find that in IC that there is an attendance mistake, you would do what's called our attendance correction form. It's a PDF that you can fill in. This is the important first step. Please don't email and say, please fix my attendance, because we will not be able to do that. You do have to fill out this form. So we're just going to respond back and say, please fill out the form that's located on the website. Okay. You'll find that on the parent page, Get Informed. Okay. Once you have that completed, you will then submit it to the teacher, and then it's the teacher's responsibility to review their attendance. Please don't submit it to the front office or the building director. It has to go to the teacher first in order for that absence or that tardy to be fixed. Okay. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about truancy. And so we'll want to make sure that you familiarize yourself with this in the student parent handbook. It's on page 48 and 49. There's a detailed 4-phase process during the truancy process. And this is for students who have a lot of unexcused absences that accrue. So we follow what's outlined by CDE and state law as it pertains to truancy, and as well as what the district outlines. So we want to make sure that you are fully informed as to what that process looks like. It's pretty detailed. So we want to, I wasn't going to put this in the slide presentation, but those are the pages where you're going to want to reference that truancy policy. If you at all know that your student's going to be absent for extended periods of time or anything like that, you want to first familiarize yourself with that policy, and then we're going to talk next about the extended absence policy. Okay. So we do have an extended absence policy form that's also located on that Get Informed page of our website. And this is in case your student will not be at school for a prolonged period of time, and that is 3 or more consecutive days for travel, medical, etc. The handbook really breaks that down. But it is really, really important that the parents coordinate not only with the teacher, but with the building principal, our director, as to what that's going to look like when your student is not in school. How are they going to access their education, and how are they going to make up their work? Okay. There's a lot more to this extended absence policy that's inside that handbook. So please make sure that you reference that on page 47. But I do want to make sure that I point out 4 unexcused absences during 1 month, or a total of 10 unexcused absences during any school year will qualify the student as habitually truant. So that's why there's this extended absence form, because if you know that they are going to be absent for whatever particular reason, that you coordinate that in advance. If it's in a family emergency, you would still follow the same process, but then you would let us know as soon as possible. That way we're following all proper procedures. Okay. The process of how you utilize the extended absence form, you would contact the building director or the administrator with the dates of the absence and complete the extended absence form. Okay, so you would complete it, attach it to the building principal. You would set up a conference or email the teachers that your student has. So in secondary, any of the teachers that they have on those blue and gold days, you would email them. In elementary, you'd email their main teacher, and then you would develop a plan because they would then know this is how many days that my student's going to be missing. This is the access that they're going to have, and this is how we're going to accomplish ensuring that they're keeping up with their coursework. And so some of that coordination and that meeting with that teacher or teachers is developing how are they going to get access to that coursework. Okay. Really important with this particular process and extended absence form is making the teacher aware of what your internet accessibility is going to be during that time when the student is out. That way the teacher then has an idea of when are they going to be posting content, or when would the student have access to that content in order to then submit any assignments. And then if there is a medical reason why the student would be out for this extended absence period, that a physician's note would need to be provided to the school nurse and the building director. So we're going to continue on with attendance, and I'm now on page 49 of the handbook. Briefly, make sure you familiarize yourself with any type of early dismissal. So that would be any student that needs to leave during the school day. They can be signed out by a parent. Just make sure that you're signing them out at their respective front offices. If you have students both in elementary and secondary, as you are speaking to somebody in elementary, you can then say, please transfer me over to secondary, or, hey, I have a secondary student who I also need to sign out. And then they'll transfer you over to secondary. That way the front office can handle finding your student and then notifying the teacher that you will be signing them out. It's helpful if you call ahead, or if you know during that morning that you're going to be signing your student out, and you provide your student with a note. It's helpful that the front office gets that note. That way they can expedite the process of getting them signed out. The best time to pick up your student, especially on the secondary side, would be during a passing period, and have that coordinated in advance. That way they then know between periods 5 and 7, I go straight to the front office because I'm getting signed out. You can see the bell schedule on our website so that you can coordinate that a little bit better. The reason why we ask that is because it limits the amount of disruptions that of us calling into the classroom to disrupt learning. Okay. I mentioned about the note that you can send with your student. And this last bullet is really important. Please refrain from all early pickups after 2 p.m. In particular, on our elementary school side, we strongly want to make sure our parents are not coming to sign out their students at 2 p.m. or later, because our drive line starts getting reset at around 2:05, 2:10. And so we're trying to prepare the parking lot in order to make it open for driveline, which means that we need to get all families who are picking up students out of the parking lot. So if you come at 2 o'clock and then it takes your student 10 minutes to get down, you're now impacting driveline. Okay, so if you're coming to pick up your student, do so before 2 p.m. On the secondary side, it is helpful if it's before 2 p.m., but I would say 2:15 would probably be the latest, because you would then be impacting driveline on the other side in that respect also. Continuing with attendance, we are a closed campus here at STEM School Highlands Ranch for grades K through 9. So if you have a 9th grader, they cannot go off campus. Once the students have begun their day, they are required to remain on campus until the end of the school day. Students in grades 10th through 12th will be granted open campus privileges during the student's designated lunch period only. Okay, you can reference the handbook for some more clarity around that if you need to. And then we have this section here on who can leave school. Upperclassmen grades 10 through 12th grade are permitted off-campus privileges during off periods only. If they have a class, they obviously need to be on campus and in their class, okay? All other students are not permitted to leave school grounds at any time during the school day, obviously, unless they are being signed out by a parent, okay? So, and then there's the rest of those bullets about students returning back onto campus must be signed back in or sign themselves back in at the front office. On the elementary school side, you would the parent would come in and sign their student back in. On the secondary side, the middle school students need to be signed in. High school students don't need to be signed in. They can sign themselves back in. Okay. Attendance as it relates to some health related questions. Please make sure that you are keeping your students home if they exhibit any of those bullets. We want to ensure that our school remains healthy, our staff remains healthy, and so it's really helpful if any students who are sick and experience any of those symptoms, that they stay home. And that they rest and not spread whatever they have throughout the school building. It is like a petri dish in there, so it does spread very quickly. And there have been times in the past where we have had to either have a whole grade go virtual, depending on what was going through the school, how it impacted our staff and other students. And so we want to ensure that everybody still has access to in-person learning. So please make sure that if your student is sick, that they stay home. Okay. When can a child return to school? There it's outlined. It's also outlined in the handbook and on the website when after 24 hours of medication for the following conditions. And then you have to at least be free of fever and eye drainage for at least 24 hours without using medication. And they have to be free of diarrhea and vomiting for at least 48 hours without medication. Okay, so please keep these kinds of factors in mind before you send your kiddo back to school. So now I'm going to talk about visitors and volunteers. This is page 23 in the handbook. We do use Raptor as our check-in system. If you came for a tour, then we've used Raptor for you, where we took your driver's license and we gave you a badge. So the same process happens for any visitors or volunteers who come that particular day in order for them to gain access to the school building. So you would check into your respective front office, present your ID. They'll go ahead and scan it, ensure that there's nothing concerning that pops up in the background check that they do. And then you'll get a sticker that allows for you to gain access to the building. Now, please keep in mind that you cannot just show up and then say, I want to visit my student's classroom. It does have to be arranged with a teacher in advance, and the front office needs to be notified. Okay. I want to touch briefly on virtual weather days, and this is page 50 in the handbook. This is super important as we get into our kind of snowy, wintry months. So we'll revisit this in the parent newsletter beginning in October. We'll start to remind families of this, but this is when we run into the months where we might have inclement weather that could either close the school for a snow day, or if the district were to call a delay start, this outlines what our procedure is. So if the district calls for a snow day, we would inform you as well as the school district, because they do send out notifications and you could potentially get it also, but you would be followed up with a notification from STEM directly that would indicate what we're doing. And we would be closed if a DCSD calls for a snow day. We would also be closed for a snow day. If the district calls for a late start for their schools, their neighborhood run schools, we would implement what's called a virtual school day. The handbook outlines what that means, and that includes about 20% of I believe it's synchronous learning, but the handbook outlines exactly what that looks like, and it outlines it by school. So what to expect for elementary as opposed to secondary students. So please be sure that you're looking at what the expectation is if we do have to call for a virtual school day. Okay, we do not do late starts. We do have early releases this year, so please make sure that you're looking at the calendar. And that just popped in my head, so I want to make sure that I'm reminding families that is new this year. There are certain Fridays every month that are an early release day, and they're marked on the academic school calendar that's located on the website under calendars. Okay, unless there is something happening inside our building, if the school district is open, we are also open, but we would notify our families if there is anything that would impact any type of school operations. Okay, so this is new for the 24-25 school year. It's in the student parent handbook on page 36. This is our cell phone policy. So we want to make sure that all of our families review this before the start of the school year. We'll also be sending it out to families directly just so that they have an opportunity to review it also. But the administration team has implemented a new cell phone policy for this year because of the impact that cell phone usage throughout the school day, text messaging, using particular apps, that impact that it has had on not only student learning, but on social, emotional, and mental health. And so please make sure that you read through what that policy outlines, and then how it will be managed throughout the school day. If you have any questions as far as in IT or technology, we have our technology support team. They have a page on our website. It's under the About Us tab, and there you can find information for new families, how they can gain, how students can gain access to their email accounts, and then a quick guide to some of the systems that we use. And then if you are looking to get a laptop for your student, grades 7 through 12, you would provide your own laptop for your student. Kindergarten through 6th grade, we provide a laptop for students. And it is a Google Chromebook. And so we've been sending out information about that in the last 2 parent newsletters. So please be sure that you reference that information so that you know what to expect. And then the technology support page also includes really important information about how we handle student privacy data and the specific laws that we follow from the state. If you're new to STEM, your student will have 2 emails, one with the district and one with STEM. So there we have it outlined what the format is so that the student knows how to knows what to expect. If they are a brand new student to STEM, they'll also learn this during Spartan launch, which will happen on August 5th. If you haven't signed up for that, if you're a secondary student, please make sure that you see the link in the last parent newsletter or in the Back to School Hub to make sure that you're signing up for secondary Spartan launch. For elementary, there is not going to be an elementary Spartan launch. There's going to be an elementary meet and greet for grades 1 through 5. Kindergarten will only have a Spartan launch this year. So be sure to check the newsletter and the website for the specifics around how to sign up for the kindergarten Spartan launch or when to attend for the elementary meet and greet. And all of that's happening on August 5th. Okay. We use Canvas as our learning management system. And so you can find out more information on how to access Canvas as a parent on our technology support page under the tab that says Quick Guide to Systems. Okay. If at any point in time you need assistance from our IT team or our tech support team, you would email support@stemk12.org. It creates a ticket in our system, and then our help desk technicians will get back to you to, at least if they can't answer your question, point you in the right direction. Okay. This is also located on the website on their technology support page, but we just want to make sure that we included this. There's a quick video on how to use Canvas from a parent's perspective. It's really helpful that you know and that you log into Canvas and set up your Canvas account. That way you can track what your student is submitting for their coursework and follow along. That way you're not caught off guard when it comes time for conferences or at the end of the semester when it comes time for grades. Okay. And then there's some instructions on how to set up the app on your phone. I want to touch briefly on the lunch program. Lunch is free this year for all students. You can check out those two links that are also on that parent page. Toward the bottom, there's a tab that says lunch. And you can see the two lunch menus for our school. Now, in order for the lunch to be considered free, it has to meet the requirements in that orange box. Okay, and in order for that, and that green box provides you a little bit more information also. So please ensure that your student knows what constitutes a free lunch. If they don't follow those guidelines, you will get charged, okay? So then you'll start to see charges appear from nutrition services in your My School Bucks account, and then you're going to question, why am I getting charged? That's probably because your student didn't follow what the guidelines were for the free meal, okay? The free and reduced lunch program, even though lunch is free this year, if you are ever in need, if you are a family that is in need of reduced cost services or maybe free services such as, oops, such as covering the cost of field trips or student fees or any additional fees. You do want to sign up and make sure that you fill out that application for the free and reduced lunch program, because it does cover other fees, like I mentioned, for field trips, and student fees could potentially be waived. Other additional fees could potentially be considered as being waived if you're part of that free and reduced lunch program. So you do have to fill out a new, sorry, I don't believe student fees are waived. My apologies. Like enrichment fees, athletic fees, stuff like that. So make sure that if you're not even sure if you qualify, it's a quick application that you can fill out and submit. And then the district will notify you whether or not you have qualified for the program. Please just make sure that you indicate on the form that you want to share your information with STEM. That way we know the district doesn't automatically share that information with us unless you check that box, okay? So it's really important that that box is checked and that you fill out that form every single year. Okay, I want to touch briefly on our health services, in particular immunizations. This is also found on our Get Informed page, parents section toward the bottom. You'll see our health services tab and all of our important resources and links to documents and information is linked right there. But in particular, I want to make sure that our families know how to complete the certificate of non-medical exemption. There's a link right there. There's also a module that you need to complete, and then it needs to be submitted to our school nurse, and that's just nurse@stemk12.org is the email address. And so you want to make sure that you complete that every school year. If you filled one out last year, it expired on the 30th, so we do need to have another one on file for you. Here's some additional policies in regards to health services and as it pertains to over-the-counter prescription, what our policy is for both elementary and secondary. So please make sure that you are reviewing that so that you know what we can and can't give to students in regards to over-the-counter medication. Vision and hearing screening. We hold these every year. They typically are in January. And as soon as we have those dates finalized, they'll be communicated via the parent newsletter. Be on the lookout for this because we also need parent volunteers to assist us on those 2 days because we do screen a lot of students since we're K through 12 during those 2 days. So we need a lot of volunteer assistance, but then we also request for just snack donations, drink donations, and stuff like that to feed all of our volunteers. Okay, and then just make sure that you check out that under that tab to make sure that there's no other important forms that pertain to you that you need to then submit to our school nurse. Okay, so we have the BASE program is run by the school district, and we have a BASE program here at STEM. It's located in our elementary school cafeteria, and this is just for elementary school students. Please check out their website to sign up or get on the waiting list. It does fill up very quickly, so if you have not looked into that yet and you do need after school care for your elementary school student, please make sure that you reach out to them and get on their wait list or sign up and enroll. They are also always looking for qualified teachers to help with running after school. So if you have some free time and you want to explore that option, please check out that website so that you can contact them to see what kind of assistance they need. So we have, and that should say after school care, sorry, we don't do before school care anymore for secondary because the doors on the west side open at 7:10. So secondary students who come with their elementary school siblings will enter through the athletics entrance, and then they'll just wait inside the gym until school starts. After school care, though, for secondary is called our Spartan afternoon program that takes place in our middle school cafeteria. It is a drop-in service. So you don't need to sign your student up for that every single day. But you do need to get set up with a Smart Care Child platform account. And so you can email enrichment with the subject line Smart Care to find out more information, or you can click on that link. It's also located on that Get Informed page under parents. And then here's the link just so that you have it for the student parent handbook. I'm not going to go open it, but you should all have access to the link. But just in case you can't find it when you get this presentation, you have the link here. And now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to open it up to questions. And I see we have a few in the chat box. So I'm going to go through these. So the first question, how do we sign them out for multiple consecutive days? And so if I'm assuming that question means that they would be in school, but for, let's say, 2 days in a row, you have to sign them out at 1 o'clock every single day. So what you would do is you do the same process on the first day as you would do on the second day. You would go in and sign them out from the front office. It is helpful if the front office knows in advance that that's what's going to happen. That way they can let the teacher know in advance and the teacher's prepared to then let the student out at a specific time. What we do really try and do is reduce the amount of times that we're calling into a classroom to interrupt instruction. Now, if you mean, how do we sign them out for multiple consecutive days where they're going to miss the entire school day? Again, if it's 3 or more days, you have to complete that extended absence form. If it is 2 days, then you would call the attendance line and you would say, my student's going to be absent for the next 2 days, and this is an excused absence. Here are the days. This is a reason why. Okay. Let's see. Do you have to come in to physically sign them out specifically for high school students? I would call the front office and just verify. I believe high school students can sign them out and themselves out in grades 10 through 12. But I would just call the front office as you're giving them a heads up and say, I'm giving my student permission to sign themselves out, and they'll then advise you whether or not you have to come in and sign them out or whether or not they're free to go because you've called in advance. Let's see. When do we get the extended absence form? Where? It's on the parent page on the website, and top right-hand corner, click on parents, then click the green box that says get informed. And then in the section where it's talking about attendance, I believe it says absences/tardies on that tab. You'll click that, and that's where you'll find the button that says extended absence form. You'll also see there the attendance correction form. If my child is sent home sick, do we still have to get a doctor's note for it to be an excused absence? I don't believe so. I do believe that you do need a doctor's note if it is an extended absence period. So for example, if they're going in for surgery or God forbid, some sort of medical issue that arises and your student will be missing 3 or more consecutive days, then a doctor's note is necessary. Otherwise, if you sign them out and call the attendance line and say that they're sick, you're fine. If my child has an Apple Watch, how does that fit into the cell phone policy? I didn't see any specifics in the handbook, only that smart devices need to be non-disruptive. So as it pertains to the Apple Watch, I would strongly suggest if it's not outlined in the policy, then that's not something that has become an issue, and that's with staff and with the administration. So I believe an Apple Watch is still fine. I would still have that discussion with your student that they are utilizing the Apple Watch so that it's not interfering with their instruction or with their learning process. And so if you are noticing that they are, then maybe the recommendation would be that they don't wear the Apple Watch or that they wear something different. So I would say if it's not outlined specifically, if we're talking about watches that are like Apple Watch or like a Samsung Watch, then it doesn't violate that cell phone policy. Is there any form we have to sign for months absence for international travels? Can we do online schooling for those months like homework, etc.? So you would need to ask that question of the building director directly. We cannot support online schooling for extended periods of time. And I do believe that there is a policy, and it might state this inside the handbook, where it outlines if there are so many consecutive days where the student is out of school, then they automatically start to get unenrolled. I would verify that with the building director and coordinate that, because we are not set up to do online schooling. Are kindies supposed to have emails as well? Yes, kindergartners will have emails set up in the system. However, we're not expecting them to be utilizing them. You can, as the parent, you can already get access to that and set that up on your computers. That way you have access to it, but their email account stays with them their entire time while they are with us. So the Canvas app number, I don't have that off the top of my head, but it is on that technology support page. I know it's like a bunch of letters. So you can find it on that page, and then you can also find it in this presentation when I'm done with it. Just don't have access to that screen anymore. Let's see. Do you know if BASE has hours available for the first week of kindergarten, since the kids don't start until Thursday with second half days? You'd have to reach out to the BASE program to see what kind of availability they have, if they have any openings for that. Unfortunately, I don't know. For seventh graders, do we have to get their own laptop? Yes, 7th through 12th grade, or if your student's in P-TECH, you do have to get their own laptops. We only provide up to 6th grade right now. And this is going to be our first year where we're providing laptops for 6th graders. So I'm not sure if that's going to change for next year, that we would then provide them for 7th grade. But as of right now, we only provide we provide, I think it's 3rd grade through 6th grade, but the younger students in those grades don't necessarily get to take them home. They use them in class. And then if we are on an international trip, how many days can the student be excused? So you would discuss that with the building director. We handle that on a case-by-case basis to then see what is going to be the impact on the student's learning, because obviously content that they're learning, grade level, it plays a major factor in that. So if you are starting to consider international travel, I would start that conversation with the appropriate building director now. There's a great question about whether or not you know A, B, or C lunch. And this is for secondary students, so in grades 6 through 12. We included it in Friday's newsletter, but it's a great question in case you missed it. That the lunches will be determined by when the teacher that they have during that class period has their lunch. So they'll find out the first week of school when they have lunch on blue and gold and silver days, because that all depends on when the teacher that they have during that class period has lunch. So it's always either, it's going to be right, that period that's right in the middle of the day. So if you look at the bell schedule, it does indicate when in the day lunches are, and then the teacher will then tell them you either have A, B, or C lunch. What is the concept of blue, gold, and silver days, and how we and students need to act? I'm not 100% sure how to answer that. And essentially every school kind of picks how they want to operate, their schedule during the school day, to ensure that their students not only meet their instructional minutes, but that they also meet and have good learning throughout the school day. The STEM has gone through a variety of different bell schedules throughout the last 12 years. And so the current schedule that we have has proven itself to be the most beneficial for students, to have a blue day where they have 4 of their classes, and then a gold day where they have 4 other classes, and then that Friday skinny schedules where they have the ability to go to all of their classes. And so what it usually tends to be is that those during the week where they have more dedicated time is where they're getting the instruction, and they're also getting hands-on learning opportunities. And usually that Friday ends up being more of like a catch up and assessment type day, but it really just depends on the teacher and how they have their courses structured. The Smart Care app is that's used for secondary after school care. So if you have a secondary student that is that you can't pick up right away, which what we covered this yesterday during Driveline, during that presentation, is that all students need to be picked up by 3:15. That's when Driveline ends. So if they are not picked up and if they are not in an enrichment program, then they either need to be in after school care or they need to have a designated space where they walk to off campus. Okay, they can't just hang out on campus. And that's outlined in the parent handbook, how that breaks down and where they need to go. And so the Smart Care app is just the system that the secondary after school care program utilizes in order for you to pay for your student to be in the after school care program so that we can account for them. And then you also sign some important documents while you're in there. And so I would say, so just with Smart Care, if you have further questions about it, I would reach out to Enrichment, since that's the platform that they've chosen to use, and they would know way more than I do about how to utilize that platform. So enrichment@stemk12.org. And then here's a question about school supplies. So we've touched on this in both parent newsletters, and elementary has a school supply list. You can find that in the Back to School Hub, the link to that. You can also find that in the elementary news and updates section of the newsletter. Secondary does not have a specific supply list, other than 7 through 12 needs a laptop. Each teacher will include in their syllabus if there's anything in particular that a student needs to have for their class. So for example, if you're in a specific math class where you need a specific type of calculator, the teacher will indicate that in their syllabus, which is why we strongly encourage parents to set up their parent Canvas account. That way they can also see the syllabus that the teacher is putting in for their course, so that they can stay on top of those things and help their student. I would strongly suggest that your students have, just the basics: pens, pencils, erasers, 1 or 2 notebooks to help them get through class, but there's nothing specifically outlined for secondary students that they absolutely need to have, other than a laptop in grades 7 through 12. Do parents of kindies need to sign up for Canvas? I don't believe so, because I believe kindies, I could be wrong about this. I would reach out to the kindergarten teacher once you know who that is, and that's next week, because they'll also outline in their they do newsletters to parents also, specifically for their class, and they'll outline how you can help their student. I do know at one point they were using Google Classroom, and I don't know if they navigated away from that. So I would check as soon as you know for kindergarten who your teacher is going to be. You can ask them that question, but I do know that they will be sharing out how you'll be able to check their grades and their progress and everything like that. Okay. Our syllabus already available from all secondary teachers. You can check, all of our staff reported back today. So we were very lucky this year. We invited new teachers back all last week. Any teacher who is new to STEM has been here for at least a week and a day. And today is the first day back for all staff. So all returning teachers are back as well. I do know they're going through professional development this week, and they will be setting up their courses if they hadn't already done so. So you can check in Canvas to see if the syllabus is already posted, but if it's not, it will start to populate throughout the rest of this week as the teachers get back into setting up their classes and their courses in Canvas. Okay. How do parents sign up for Canvas? There's instructions on that technology support page under About Us on the website. Do you have the laptop configuration outlined? Yes, that's also on the technology support page. There's a tab on there that says laptop requirements. Where can we get Canvas application? So, it walks you through on that technology support page about how to gain access to Canvas, and there might be a link there to the App Store. Otherwise, I would just search for it inside both app stores. If they don't have the app for it, which I'm about 95% sure they do, but if they don't, you can also access Canvas through your Google app on your phone. Okay, so I believe sixth graders will be getting laptops from the school this year. Please make sure that you check out the parent newsletter that was sent out on Friday. And that's going to come out on this Friday because there'll be information about that particular topic in there also. Okay. I believe there are some additional instructions on that page about the pairing code. If it's not, then I would email support@stemk12.org. That way they can get you what that pairing code is supposed to be, but I thought we had posted it on that page. So that's it for all the questions that are in the chat box. We still have about 8 more minutes. So if anybody wants to unmute and ask any questions in person, feel free to do so. And I'll do my best to answer them.
Yeah, hi, Ms. Nicole. This is Shah here. Actually, I was trying to find the configuration for the computer on the handbook. I'm not able to find it.
Not in the handbook. So you're going to go to the website, stemk12.org, and then under About Us, a menu will drop down that'll say Technology Support. Click on that.
Yeah, got it.
And then there's a tab in the middle of that page that then says Laptop Requirements.
Okay, yeah, laptop recommendations. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, recommendations, sorry. You do not need to configure the laptop for sixth grade. They're going to get it already configured. Please make sure that you read that section in the newsletter because it's going to outline how that laptop is going to be configured so that you know. Because it is a STEM laptop, it will have some restrictions on it as far as like website blocking certain websites and certain apps that can be installed and stuff like that. So please ensure that you're familiarizing yourself with that information, which is located inside the parent newsletter that was sent out on Friday. In addition, in that parent hub, if you go to that page on our website, the back to school hub that I referenced earlier in the presentation, I do link all of the parent newsletters as well as the specific elementary and middle school sections of the newsletter on that page. So you can find all that information there.
So newsletter already sent out, right?
Yes, there was one that was sent out last Friday, and then there was one that was sent out the Friday before. If you have not received the newsletter, you can sign up for it, go to that parents section and then click get connected. That's going to be tomorrow's presentation, but if you want to sign up for it now because you didn't get it, click get connected, and then there's a little form on that page that you fill out to get access to be added to our newsletter. Now, in the very beginning of this presentation, I talked about, briefly touched on Express Check-in. In Express Check, as you're going through Express Check-in and you're having to update your contact information, that step is super important because I do run a report every single week and I pull the emails out of Infinite Campus that I have approved access to, and that's who I send the newsletter to. So if your information's not up to date in IC and you're not getting the newsletter, it could be because we don't have your contact information in the system. Okay. There is a question about coming to pick up driveline tags. That's happening all this week. And it's super important to read that parent newsletter because we're outlining like what those events are. So it's happening every single day this week. And we don't want anybody to be late to anything or miss something. So I know it's a lot of information, but that's our best source of how we get information out is that parent newsletter because there's a lot of information that we have to sometimes communicate out, but we try and make it as organized as possible. So all this week from 7:30 to 2:30 at the secondary front office. Okay, and they'll print on demand, so you don't need to request anything this week through the support ticket. If you are a secondary parent only, so you only have kids in grades 6 through 12, you do need to sign up for a placard color, okay? And then when you go in, you indicate what color you signed up for. They also have the sign up link there so they can verify it also if needed. But just so that you know, on the secondary side, we just need to know what color you need because we can only allow a certain number of cars into the parking lot at a time or else we're overflowing. Kindergartners do not get laptops, but they do have access to iPads in the classroom. And then I believe first graders also have access to an iPad in the classroom, but that might have been changed to a laptop. So I believe the laptops stay in the classroom through 4th grade, and they might be able to take them home in 5th grade, but I'm not sure. We've been updating that from year to year, and I can't remember where we're at now. But the laptop kindergartners do not get access to laptops.
Hi, this is Maurya. So I did the express check-in and I updated the new contact information. We just moved to a different location. So
Okay.
it's kind of erroring out. Do I need to send an email to the technology support team or whom should I contact? It's also not reflecting in the Douglas County School District
Like,
website.
do you mean a new home address?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're not seeing that it's updating inside of the portal, then I would email registrar, and I'll put that in the chat box. I'll do my best to send it to everyone, the email. It's registrar@stemk12.org. That way they can then take a look and verify your information and update it. You should be able to update it, but I know they've had some issues ever since the CrowdStrike outage.
Okay.
Certain things were not functioning the way they were supposed to when everything was coming back online. So that could be the reason why it might not be working for you.
All right. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, we got about 2 more minutes. If there's any other questions that I can answer before I let you go.
So, hi, I got a question on the Canvas app.
Yeah.
From what I understand, as a parent, I need my daughter to log in to Canvas app and get a code or something, and then I need to use that code to log in myself. Is it right?
Yes, that sounds right. Thank
Got
you.
it. Okay, sounds good. I'll do
Thank
that.
you. There's so many things
Yeah.
at the beginning of the school year, but yes, that is accurate. So the person that asked about that pairing code, was that you in the chat box?
Oh, that was not me. No.
Oh, okay. There was another parent that asked about that. Thank you. That just jogged my memory. So yes, once your student gets set up with their Canvas account, then you get the pairing code from their account, add it to yours, and then you can see theirs. But it doesn't hurt for you to go ahead and start setting up your Canvas account now. That way, it's a really easy thing. You've got your login information saved, and all you have to do is pair the two of them together. Now, there should be instructions on how your student, I think on that technology page on how your student can gain access to Canvas. I believe they just log in using their STEM email. And then there's instructions on how they set up their STEM email on that page also. So
Yeah, I see that.
okay, so you might even be able to start doing that now. Unfortunately, I don't have a little kiddo here, so I've never done the process. So I don't know if you can start it now or if you have to wait until the first day of school, but give it a whirl, see what happens.
Yeah, I'll try. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, so for kindergarten roundup, if I put my name, not my child's name on the sign up, is there a way to edit? I would email Miss McElroy, and that's I'll put that in the chat box also, amy.mcelroy@stemk12.org, and just give her a heads up that that's actually that way she can update the sign up and that she is aware. I don't know if you can. I believe it's a Sign Up Genius. And so there might be a way to edit it if you log into your Sign Up Genius account, but I don't know for sure. So I would just give her a heads up. Let's see. So there's a question about when you will get your placard. You have to come to the school this week. Let's see. So you'll come to the school this week anytime between 7:30 and 2:30 to the secondary front office to pick up your Driveline placard. Okay, I don't see any other questions, so feel free to submit any additional questions that you have to info@stemk12.org. But I strongly encourage you all to please check out that Back to School Hub. The answer might be on there. Also check out that parent page on the website. The information might be there also. And then you can always reference this presentation later on today when I have it uploaded. Thank you guys for attending, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.